All right, let's get right into it. There's something really strange happening right now with U.S. foreign policy. On one hand, the United States is orchestrating this huge global peace summit for Gaza. But at the exact same time, it's also putting together the largest military force we've seen in the Middle East since the Iraq War. It's this massive contradiction, and frankly, it's got the whole world on edge.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? What is going on here? Why is the U.S. pushing so hard for diplomacy with one hand, while getting ready for a massive conflict with the other? Are we listening to the hum of peace talks, or is that the beating of war drums?
And this slide really lays out what one reporter called a surreal juxtaposition. I mean, look at this. Over on the left, you've got the push for peace, a global initiative for Gaza, diplomats from over 40 countries all meeting to talk about how to stabilize and rebuild. Then on the right, you've got the complete opposite, the biggest military buildup in the region in 20 years, with all that power pointed straight at Iran.
Okay, so to really understand what's happening, we have to break down these two parallel and kind of contradictory U.S. policies. Let's kick things off with the diplomatic effort.
And you know, the scale of this diplomatic push is pretty impressive. We're talking about representatives from more than 40 countries, all gathering in Washington, D.C. for the very first meeting of what the president is calling the Board of Peace. That's a major international event.
So the official goals for this summit are pretty straightforward. First, stabilize the situation in Gaza. Second, start figuring out the massive job of reconstruction. And third, just get all the international partners in one room talking to each other. It's, a very classic, by-the-book diplomatic approach to a crisis.
But while all those diplomats were shaking hands and talking peace, a totally different story was unfolding. The Pentagon was, very quietly, executing a massive military mobilization. And the scale of this thing, it's just staggering.
Yeah, this is not some small troop movement. Just let that sink in for a second. Sources on the ground are calling this the single biggest buildup of American air and naval power in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. I mean, that is an incredibly serious, historic move.
And what's really wild is the speed of it all. Right now, there are over 120 U.S. warplanes in the region. And just look at this. Nearly half of them, more than 50 aircraft, just showed up in the last 48 hours. That is an absolutely insane rate of deployment. And it isn't just about the number of planes. It's what kind of planes they're sending. You've got F-15s and stealth F-35s for strikes, you've got AWACS planes for command and control, and then a whole fleet of tankers and cargo planes to support them. Basically, it's what the military calls a complete air bridge. It's everything you would need to sustain a major air war. And then there's the Navy. Steaming toward the region is the USS Gerald R. and its entire strike group. Now, this isn't just any ship, it is the largest warship on the entire planet. A single aircraft carrier like this is basically a floating American airbase, and it's a symbol of overwhelming power.
So here's a really important detail. It's about what we're not seeing. Unlike the buildup to the Iraq War, there are no major U.S. land forces being moved around. This is a pretty strong hint that whatever's being planned, it's probably not a ground invasion. The whole focus seems to be on air and sea power.
So all of this military muscle, this incredible power, it's all being pointed in one direction, Iran. So the questions are, why Iran, and how is Iran reacting to suddenly being put into crosshairs?
While the main reason comes straight from President Trump himself, the administration's position is really clear. An Iranian nuclear weapon is just an unacceptable threat to peace in the region. And as he said, that message has been sent to Tehran very strongly.
But of course, Iran isn't just going to sit there and take it. The U.S. has this massive, permanent military footprint all around Iran. So, Iran is firing back with its own demonstrations of force, and interestingly, it's teaming up with its ally, Russia, to do it.
Together, they've kicked off these joint naval drills in the Sea of Oman, which is a clear message. They're releasing dramatic footage of staged ship seizures, they're warning commercial planes to stay away, and they're even hinting that these drills could include firing live cruise missiles. They're trying to show the world they have some military cards to play too.
But, a possible war with the U.S. isn't the only fire the Iranian government is trying to put out. They are also facing a massive and deepening crisis inside their own country.
I mean, these numbers here, they paint a really bleak picture. The country is dealing with 50% inflation. Their currency has lost 60% of its value. And maybe worst of all for regular people, food prices have shot up by 85%. That kind of economic pain can create a ton of instability for a government.
So what you have is this perfect storm. You've got peace talks, a massive military machine revving its engines, and an opponent that's under intense pressure at home. And all of these different threads are coming together and pointing to a very, very tight deadline.
The clock is now officially ticking. We know negotiations happened in Geneva earlier this week. We also know President Trump said he wants a response from Iran's team within 10 days. But here's the kicker. Some reports are saying the military is already in position, and a decision on whether or not to launch strikes could come as soon as this weekend.
And even as that clock is ticking down, the diplomatic efforts are still going at full speed. The president's been using that Board of Peace meeting to get on the same page with allies. And just in, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is now scheduled to fly to Israel next week, specifically to give Prime Minister Netanyahu an update on the whole Iran situation.
So it all brings us right back to where we started. You've got a peace process on one track and a war machine on another, both moving full steam ahead. With the deadline getting closer by the minute, the whole world is basically holding its breath to see which path wins out before the clock hits zero.